I can't believe it's already been 30 days since Eli was not there. I'm a close friend of his, I share many memories with him, and I can speak about him for hours. It's not for no reason that every Habachur in the Yeshiva decided to take it upon himself to speak cleaner for the next while. Eli was a boy that he'd speak cleanly, and if anyone around him would speak with bad language or something, he'd immediately tell him to stop. So even though you're not here anymore, Eli, everything you taught me will remain forever.
I was Eli's counselor this previous summer in Camp Heller. One thing that stuck out for me was a real big mile of his, which was that he's always in control of his emotions. For example, he's always a great athlete, and his team in the leagues wasn't always the best. So a lot of times he had guys which weren't so good and would mess up. So he was always under control with the guys. You know, if they make bad plays, he was always controls of emotions regarding not to get angry at them. And even in one of those close games, he was always under cool. And also in the mornings when I used to wake them up for Shacharis, he would a lot of guys would start throwing stuff at me. He would calmly threaten me, saying, "Tzvi, you better leave me alone." And for myself, you know, he was a couple years younger than me, and there's a big chizuk for myself to strive to be able to control my emotions, to be such a chizuk for me.
This year in Camp Heller, I was Eli's roommate, and one day a bunch of boys were sitting around. Me and a bunch of boys were sitting around on his bed, and I happened to be there. I was messing around with his bed, and I broke it, and I put it back to make like nothing happened. And when I was waiting for when Eli came back, I was waiting for his reaction to be all like, you know, all mad and stuff like that. But he was totally normal. And I told him that he could sleep. I can switch beds with him, and you know, I'll sleep on top. The top of my bed was empty. I told him I'll sleep on top. He's like, no, I'll sleep on the top. Don't worry about it. And even though every single night he'll come back, and it would be like dirt and like bugs on his bed, and he'd like wipe it off, and he didn't complain, nothing wrong. And I see from here that he was so sensitive to boys, and he didn't care. And now looking back, I realized how nice of a kid he was, and how sensitive he was to people.
He was somebody that whatever you saw Eli doing, whatever you saw Eli was, that's who he was. He had no secrets. He had nothing to hide. He was just Eli Schonbrun. Everybody loved him. He was an amazing friend.
Eli was always a happy person. You could see it on his face, the way he walked down the hallways, the way he greeted everybody. He was always happy and smiling and bringing people together. And even though he's not here, he's still bringing people together. And you can see in Yeshiva, the Achdus is stronger than ever.
Eli was an amazing person. He was, you know, when I would pass him in the hallways, he would always smile at me and say good morning. Always brighten my day. Last year, me and Eli were on the same league team, and no matter how badly we were losing or how intense the game got, Eli was always, and you know, he was always positive about it. If someone took a bad shot, Eli would always say, "Guys, it's okay. We'll get it back on defense. Just let's get it back on defense." And so that's something I learned from Eli. You know, is that. You know, no matter how intense the game is, it's about the guys, it's about your friends.
Being in Eli's class for 11 years since kindergarten, one thing that I always remember about Eli is he never liked talking about people, because when you talk about people, a bunch of guys, obviously, the worst thing you could come out is about talking about Lashon Hara. Eli was always careful about not talking about people. Since the beginning of the last year, talking to Eli over the phone, Eli always talked about Yeshiva. Everything was just going well for him. Everything was going positive. He was just growing. Since the beginning of 10th grade, it was just great.
I was able to have known Eli for the past year of my life. Baruch Hashem, we became the best of friends, and I was with him through Aliyah, through everything that he grew to become, and he showed me what a true friendship is about, loyalty. Just one story that sticks out, especially, is 2 days before Yeshiva. I hadn't seen him a lot through the summer, And I hadn't seen him in a while, and it was just 2 days before Yeshiva, and we were both in the city, and I called him up. I'm like, Eli, where are you? And he tells me that he's on his way to a certain store. I'm like, oh, I'm right there right now. So I call him back, and he's like, and I'm like, where are you? He's like, oh, I'm looking, where are you? I'm in the store, and we realize that he's in a totally different part of the city. And he, so I asked him, like, what street are you on? He's like, 17th. And I'm on like 34th, and I was on my way up to 39th. He's like, no, I'm going to see my Aliyah, I'm going to see my Aliyah. So he goes and he drags his friend along for 25 blocks just to see me, and just showed me like true loyalty of a friend. Just everything he does, everything was for everyone else, and his friendship was really true. And I would like to thank him for being my friend for the past year of my life and helping me grow so much.
I had the honor of being Eli's dorm counselor since he came to Waterbury. Now, last year I used to go around every Shabbos serving coffee in the mornings to help get guys up for Shacharis. And a couple of weeks into doing this, Eli approached me and he said, if guys are getting up better because there's coffee, we should really do it every single morning. And Eli came to my room every single morning about an hour before Shacharis. He put together the coffee. It was actually iced coffee, make the ice, and he put everything in the pitchers, and he'd go around, him and a couple of other guys, serving the coffee every single morning to every single guy in the Sifta. You just see how important Eli felt about every Habachur really just coming to Shacharis. And that just continues to this day. A couple of guys go around every morning distributing coffee to the entire Mesifta in memory of Eli.
Eli was someone who had tremendous sophistication and maturity, especially maturity well beyond his years. I was able to be pretty good friends with Eli, and he was in my room all the time. You're able to see something different that you don't see in most kids at that age. He always knew what to do, what not to do, what to say, what not to say. He knew when he should ask somebody if they needed help. He's something I'm still trying to understand how it's possible for somebody that age to do that. I can definitively say I'm a changed person because of Eli Schonbrun.
Eli loved to serve Hashem and become closer to Hashem. He loved to help others serve Hashem and to help others grow to become a better Eved Hashem. Eli is a huge chizuk to me, to teach me. He taught me how to really fight hard, really work hard, really learn hard to becoming a better Eved Hashem and to give others chizuk. Eli was the perfect picture of someone who strived to grow.
I clearly remember one night in camp, we came back late trip, 2:30 in the morning. We came off the buses, and we were all exhausted, and we were walking back to the bunk. Like, I was walking with Eli, and he just made, we were walking by the Beis Medrash, and he just turned to the Beis Medrash and started walking to the Beis Medrash to go learn with the Chavrusa Eli words, because he couldn't let a day go by without him learning with Chavrusa.
I had the privilege to know Eli for the last year and a half, and I was with him in Yeshiva last year, and every moment looking on, every moment I had with Eli, whether it was talking to him after davening or playing basketball with him, just schmoozing with him in the hallway, every one of those moments I cherish for the rest of my life, because Eli was such a real person, and no matter what was happening or what situation was, he was always a fiery Eved Hashem, a guy who had chashivas for mitzvahs. And when Eli and Adler told me the story that they went to sleep the last Shabbos up in Passaic, and they went to sleep at 4 o'clock in the morning, and Eli told them that he's going to wake up at 6:30 to get a ride to Brooklyn because he didn't have his own tefillin, and he wanted to daven with his own tefillin. And so he left after sleeping for 2 hours, took an hour ride to Brooklyn to daven with his own tefillin, and he just had this chus of being Mekayim such a chashuv mitzvah the last day of his life. And I just think that it's, for us guys in yeshiva, it's such a big lesson that you could be so normal and so awesome and cool and still have a tremendous chashivas for mitzvahs. And I personally took upon myself to have chashivas for the mitzvah of tefillin specifically and try to work in other areas. And thank you so much, Eli. I'll never forget you.
Eli, we always appreciated you. We always valued you as a Ben Torah, tremendous Balmidus. But to see the impact, now that you're not here in yeshiva with us, to see the impact you've had on the Bachurim, to see the pain, my pain, the other Rebbeim's pain, all the Bachurim's pain, you see the tremendous amount of love that everyone has for you. And you also see the impact of Ruchnius that you had. There's so many Bachurim who are growing now because they want to follow in your footsteps. So many stories coming out about the impression that you had on people. An impact that they themselves did not realize to the fullest until we had experience you're leaving from us. The truth of the matter is that, Eli, you have not left us. We are holding on to the impact. All the time in Shir, your name comes up. I remember not long before your Patira, I remember I was complaining to the Bachurim about cell phones and making sure that nobody should, take it out during Shir. And you got up on your own, I didn't ask you. You got up on your own and went around collecting everybody's cell phones in order that everyone should be focused on the Shir. And every so often now in Shir, I say, okay, Bachurim, in honor of Eli, he taught us, everybody, give in your cell phones. And everybody takes out their cell phones. And things like that happen all the time where we talk about you, remember you, and the impact you have left us. And we will continue to grow, continue to steig, continue to follow the example you set for us, and we'll always remember you, and we'll always miss you.
Eli Schonbrun had quite a wide variety of friends, as is evident by those who have spoken on this video tonight. I have been working on this video, and it's been quite amazing seeing the different kinds of people getting in front of the camera and speaking about Eli and how much he meant to them. I had the pleasure of knowing Eli since the summer, and in a very short time I could see how many different people he touched. It didn't make a difference what kind of person you were. There was something about Eli that you just looked at and you were impressed by. He grew in such a normal way, nobody felt alienated around him, and everyone just felt comfortable being themselves, and at the same time, they knew that being around Eli just made themselves a better person. It's why it's so hard having Eli not here anymore, because guys like him just automatically made people around them better. Although he's no longer with us in this yeshiva, his fingerprints are all over this place. You hear his name constantly, and I'm confident that years from now, there'll be boys talking about him in this yeshiva, boys who never met him, will have their lives affected by Eli Schonbrun.
It's unique about Eli that Eli fought the fight. He fought the fight. He struggled the struggle and he overcame. And he fought slowly, one step at a time. He would fight, he'd overcome and grow and become bigger and become bigger. Incredibly unique about the way Eli did it was the style that Eli he fought. Incredible humility. I schmoozed with the Ramatis al Zangazund. I schmoozed with them about how we just didn't know so much about Eli. So many of the things, the stories, so much of the godless that he displayed, so many of the thoughtful acts, and just things that he was makbid on. We just didn't see it, didn't know it. He didn't talk about it. Incredible humility that Eli displayed in his growth. He never flaunted. He never bragged about the accomplishments that he was making, things that he was accomplishing, things that he was growing in. When I would see Eli, I had a habit. I used to love to just see Eli, meet him in the hallway, and I would look him in the face and I would say, Eli, you're such a Ben Torah. You're such a Ben Torah. You look so good. He'd give me a smile. Give me a smile. I said, thank you, Rabbi. Like, genuinely, he knew that I noticed. He knew that I noticed it. It was obvious. You look at his face, just see the happiness, the health. He was just what he became was such an incredible Ben Torah. I remember last year. We were learning Sukkah. We were learning the Sukkah at the beginning of the first parak, how high the schach is allowed to be, and all of a sudden, somewhere in the middle over there, we started discussing the Aron and the Kruvim and Rishusim, did Rishus L'mayla Miyud, different inyanim. And I remember Eli looked up in the middle of Shir and he asked, how did we get? I thought we were discussing schach. How did we get to this? So I gave him cover. It was such a great question. He's such a great noticing what's going on, noticing the sugyas, and we discussed that the flow of the Gemara. I remember time and time again. I learned with Eli in the summer. We learned to help him finish the Masechta. And I remember time and time again he would ask that question. I called it the Eli Schonbrun question. He used to call it Eli Schonbrun. He would smile at me. He would smile. Rabbi, I'm going to ask you my question. That's the trademark Eli. Still in shock, still in disbelief. This is Hashem. Hashem Yishav Nechama.
I remember I walked out of the back door of my house and I see Eli shooting around and playing basketball with my 5-year-old brother Moshe Aryeh. So a lot of times you have the guys, they're like lazily shooting the ball up in the air, throwing it at it, whatever, just to make my brother feel good. But with Eli, it wasn't that. He was running around and playing as if it was a real game. And I promise you, Eli was super popular. He had a million things he could have been doing. But he saw how much my brother was enjoying it. So he ran around and it was, when he was involved in it, it was as if it was a real game. And I'll never forget the smile and the look of proudness on my little brother's face when he later turned to me and he said, "Hello, I played a real basketball game with Eli." The second story is one that happened on a more personal level with me and Eli. I remember last year when I was coming to Yeshiva here, so obviously like everybody is, I was a little nervous and apprehensive about it before I came. And I was talking to some of my friends, so they all do the classic, don't worry about it, it'll be fine, you know, all the lines that do make you worry about it. And I came home and Eli was in my house. So first of all, before I said anything, right away Eli tells me, he's like, "Hello, I can't believe you're coming to Waterbury. I'm so excited for you, you're gonna love it." So right away that makes you feel better if Eli's telling you that. But more so I told him, I said thanks, I told him I was a little nervous about it. So instead of doing what all the other guys did and just tell me, don't worry about it, it'll be fine, he sits down with me and he starts talking to me about yeshiva and calming every single nerve that I had. And I remember at the end of that conversation, every bit of nervousness that I had about coming to yeshiva was erased, and I was practically running out of the door to get on the next train to Waterbury.
I had a great privilege to be one of Eli's roommates this year, and a few things I noticed about Eli was, one of the things was he was so confident in who he was. He didn't have to be anyone else. He didn't have to fit into any group. He was happy. He was content with who he was, and he thought and he did what he thought was right. He didn't do what other people said, whatever this, that, anything that he did what he thought was right. And another thing is that He didn't care about the little things. He in our room he probably had like the most uncomfortable bed in our entire room. I didn't hear him complain once. He was always up for chakras, always the first one up, always getting people up, always pushing people, always trying to help in the nicest way possible. He was so caring. He was such a good friend. I remember actually the last time I saw him, me and Donnie, we were going to play ball, and we stopped by Ellie's house. We needed a sixth guy to run threes, and we asked Ellie, do you want to play ball? And Ellie said he really wanted to play, But he had a friend over, and his friend was going to sleep. His friend told him to go play. He took us aside, he said, no, I can't go, can't leave my friend. My friend's here, I'm staying with him. I can't, I really want to play, but I can't.
I've only known Ellie since the beginning of this year, but we connected right away and we had a really strong relationship and we got really close. I'd always talk to him about anything that I needed to. He'd always tell me things, we'd always be sharing things with each other, helping each other out. On the night of Rosh Hashanah, he was in my room and we spoke for a really long time, and he was telling me how, he's like, this year, I want this year to be amazing, I want to grow a lot this year. He's like, I want to cut out all the things that I'm doing that will prevent me from growing. And as we all know, he grew tremendously in 10th grade, and he didn't want to stop, and he just wanted to keep on going, and he never wanted to stop growing.
I knew Eli since 5th grade. We grew up together, you know. He always had my back. He showed me what was right and wrong. And when we were getting older, you know, last year during Pesach time around, I was wondering if I should come to the yeshiva. My family, we were a little hesitant about coming to the yeshiva, and you know, my mother, you know, Eli always hung out in my house, and my mother, she saw Eli around and she saw how he was hanging out with the guys, and she said, I want my son to be in that yeshiva because I see Eli and I see how he acts and how he hangs out, and his midos are just amazing. And Eli helped me out so much to get me into the yeshiva. He used to, in the summer, he used to text me. I just spoke to Rai Kilish for 20 minutes about how he should take you in, and then I got in, and that was a lot because of Eli. And then after, like the day before yeshiva, I texted Eli. I told him, you know, I'm a little nervous. I'm coming to new yeshiva. You know, meeting new guys, new yeshiva. And Eli told me, don't worry, I got your back, man. And he did get my back since I came to the yeshiva, and I miss him so much. You know, it's tough.